everybody. We're back at the desk. Michael McCleary from the Argus Leader and Jason Andera from Midco Sports. And what are we doing today?
We're talking hoops.
We're talking hoops. And I know we've not been on for a few weeks, but we've got a collection of games that we've seen and games that we want to talk about and stuff we're going to preview. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Hanson Classics. We're going to talk about some of the big games coming up. And let's just start there. Let's talk about the girls' Hanson Classic last week. Always fun, first of all, just to watch some of the best players in the state and then watch them go against each other.
Yeah, these matchups are always what I look forward to as far as the basketball season goes. I mean, I feel like just the stars sort of align with everything. I mean, they do a good job of picking out the teams before the season, and then, you know, the pairings come a week before, and, you know, I mean, we get some of the best games of the basketball season during these classic games. So I always really look forward to these, and I mean, the finale and pretty much everything before it lived up to the hype.
And you had a busy day. I got there for the last 4 games. You got there for the last, I think, 3 games.
Yeah, I guess I got there halfway through the first quarter of the Wolsey-Wessington game.
Okay, so you saw
it was most of it.
You saw most of those games. Just a couple impressions from me first, and then I'll toss it to you because you stayed for the whole thing. I left at halftime before the Vermillion-Wagner crazy finish that we'll get to. But I just have to say, Kaylin Kelly out of Florence Henry, to me, was one of the more impressive players, more players that I was more surprised by than anybody else. She went up against Parkston, went against Faith Oakley and Gracie Oakley, and did a great job, really held her own. Florence Henry stays unbeaten. They were one of those teams that wasn't, you know, highly ranked, but really showed up in a big way for me, and I thought they were impressive. St. Thomas More, I thought, you know, what more can Reese Ross do? But not only what she did offensively, but defensively against Claire Shepherd, really finding a way to really neutralize Shepherd totally in that game, shows me that she has the talent to do what she did last year in March and just take over games. And then the last 2 games were tremendous. We had 1 versus 2 in B, where Viborg Hurley and Wolsey-Wessington really tangled for the first half. And third quarter, Viborg Hurley pulled away a little bit, and then the Viborg Hurley shooting really took over in the fourth quarter. And you could see how good they are when they come together. And then the Wagner-Vermillion game, it looked like Wagner was the better team off the bat. And then Vermillion came back and, you know, they didn't just do it with their leading scorer. They did it with a complete team effort. Those were my reactions. But what did you take away from the girls' Hanson Classic with some of the best teams in the state?
Yeah, we mentioned I was only there for the last 3 games, but that St. Thomas More matchup was definitely something that I wanted to be there for. That was, I mean, it's always good to see Reese Ross play. I mean, she's quite the player. I got to see her go through that state tournament run with St. Thomas More last year. That was a lot of fun to watch. She's a really fun player, and you know, so I feel bad that I missed that, but you know, I was able to see some pretty good games. I mean, you know, obviously we start out with the Viborg Hurley Wolsey-Wessington matchup. You know, I mean, it seemed pretty competitive right up at the jump, where, you know, in the first half, I mean, everything was sort of, you know, neck and neck. I think it was like 36-36 at one point, I think into the third quarter.
Yeah, it was really close. But you talked about the way the game started. Mallory Miller came out of the gate shooting, and she made a couple 3-pointers and made a couple shots on the inside and a couple passes.
Yeah, and one of the things that Viborg Hurley talked about is they don't really have the size that that they even had last year. But even last year, they didn't really have a ton of size either. So the way that they prepared for Mallory Miller was similar to how they prepared for Madeline Bragg, you know, during the state tournament last year with Aberdeen Roncalli. So I mean, you know, they expect.
Where they brought a 6'2" guy into practice to help him out, right?
And that still didn't even match the size that
Mallory Miller's 6'4". For those of you who don't know about Mallory Miller, she's went to Aberdeen Christian and came over to Wolsey-Wessington. Has been getting Division I offers for the last couple months now, and played a really good game.
Yeah, and you see why. I mean, you know, there was one play that was really impressive. I mean, obviously everybody talks about her turnaround jumper, which, you know, is obviously really solid, and, you know, at her height, I mean, it's really hard to defend. But, you know, the most impressive play to me was she took a ball out in transition and sort of had a little, like, kind of stop in the lane and dump pass. And at that size, it's really hard to control yourself in the lane when you're, you know, running at such a high speed in transition and, trying to make a pass. I mean, 9 times out of 10 that ends up in an offensive foul. And, she was able to complete the pass. I mean, she's just so skilled for her size, and, she's going to be really tough to defend for many teams across the league, across the state.
Yeah. But in the end, the balance of Viborg Hurley, I mean, they had several players in double figures. Coral Mason had a great rebounding day, a great defensive day, and Danae Mock went crazy.
Yeah, I mean, she got shooting from the outside. Obviously, she's had to play a little bit of forward this year, but I think she scored 30 points in that game. And, once she got going, Viborg Hurley really wasn't stopping.
Well, I was proud of our girls' effort, not only coming out and playing, but we prepared kind of all week long for these girls. Wolsey Wessington, we've been watching a lot of film. They're a great team, and we knew we'd all had to come out and play our best game to beat them. So I just, we're going to continue to improve, do our best. This is just another game on our path to where we want to be. So we're just going to continue to improve.
Yeah, so that was an excellent game. And then the nightcap, Vermilion Wagner, like I said, I didn't stay for the whole game. You did. Tell us about how that game unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, Wagner was really on a roll. And, you left at the point when Wagner was really getting going. I mean, obviously they have a really, really talented group. And, we saw that last year they were the #1 seed going into, I believe, the state tournament last year. But yeah, I mean, Vermilion just never really gave in. They kept fighting. Leah Herbster hit a couple really good big shots. Chandler Cleveland hit a couple really big shots. In the end, it was 7th grader Taylor Ruvers who hit some really key free throws, had a really nice couple moves, hit some pull-up jumpers towards the end as they were sort of, getting closer into the game. But the fearlessness that it takes from a 7th grader to take shots in that moment and obviously hit those free throws, which I think I would have missed both of those in that situation.
It was funny because I was looking at my roster on an online roster and it had her listed at 5'11", and I'm like, she's not 5'11". No. And then I looked at the state website and she's listed at 5'1", so they had an extra 1 in there, and she is amazing at that height and really hard to stop.
Yeah, and Leah, I spoke to her after the game. She said in a way it sort of helps her where she's able to dribble under the arms of defenders and get so low on defense. And, coupled with the confidence that she has just as a player, she's going to be really, really good one day. And, she even hit a couple game-winning free throws, I think, just last night. Yep. Vermilion's 11-0. They're for real. They're a really, really good team. And, Wagner's going to be beating a lot of really good teams for the rest of the season too, and that's going to be one of the biggest wins that they have all year.
A lot of fun watching some Class A, Class B girls basketball, and I think we saw plenty of contenders. #1 team in Class A, Hamlin, was basically the only highly ranked team that wasn't at the Hanson Classic. They were in Madison at a Classic and took out West Lyon with no problem whatsoever. So a lot of great teams coming into the second half of the season in girls basketball. But this weekend is all about the boys Hanson Classic in Mitchell. Another basically pre-state tournament feel of some of the best players going at it. Here's a look at the schedule coming up. Bridgewater Emory taking on Harding County. Hanson, Gregory, Clark-Willow Lake against Canastota. Hamlin against Mount Vernon Plankinton. Hamlin just beat DeSmet Tuesday night, so that was a huge win for them, going against Mount Vernon Plankinton. And then Winter and St. Thomas More. That one's always a great battle. DeSmet takes on Lower Brule. White River against Aberdeen Christian, and then Sioux Valley, Dakota Valley. So the last 2 games of the night, both 1 versus 2. What do you want to pick out from that lineup that you want to talk about, Michael?
Oh man, obviously I'm really intrigued to see Hamlin after beating DeSmet the other night. Obviously Damon Wilkinson still was able to get 25 and 25.
Yeah, it's
but
amazing.
when you have a guy like that and you're trying to neutralize him, you can only do so much. So it's really, you're trying to contain everybody around them, make sure that that's the only person that beats you. And Hamlin made sure of that. So I'm really intrigued because they obviously don't have the height that DeSmet had, but they were still able to find ways to get things going down low and get things going on the perimeter.
Yeah, they have a sophomore named Zach Van Meterens, 6'6", but he plays so much bigger than that. He's able to D up those kind of guys, but you're right. They don't have the same height, and the same thing happened against Sioux Valley, where at the end of the game, Alex Squires just beat down Hamlin. But this is a very good team with maybe their two best players as sophomores and a senior in Tyson Stevenson, who is electric. So this Hamlin team is one of those best-kept secrets that could really cause some problems here in Class A.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them, and obviously as we start getting into the late games, those last three matchups, that's really what I'm looking forward to.
DeSmet takes on Lower Brule, and Lower Brule just put up 114 on Tuesday night. This is a team I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, they had a 57-point scorer in that game too. Brian LaRoche Jr. He's
57. He's just great.
Yeah, I mean that's just an unheard of number. I mean, some people take 3 games to get to that number. Most people take 3 games to get to that number.
Most good players.
Most good players. Yeah, that's 3 good games in a row, and he got it all in one night. So that's really impressive. I mean, regardless of opponent, it's tough to put that amount of points up. And obviously Lower Brule was really good last year, and I feel like they might have been a little bit slept on, coming into this year, just with some of the players that they lost. And now they're right where they need to be. They're in the mix, and I think they're going to stay there. So that's a team I'm really looking forward to. Obviously going up against a really good team in DeSmet in Class B as well.
Exactly. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then another Class B game. We've got 1 versus 2. White River against Aberdeen Christian. I'm the lone wolf that has been voting Aberdeen Christian #1. I think they are a very complete team. This is going to be a huge test for Joe Seiler and company.
Yeah, and I think, Joe Seiler, just mentioning his name, I mean, that's one of the reasons why so many people are high on White River. Obviously, he's potentially the best player in the state, and that's a tough thing to beat. But I've been a fan of Aberdeen Christian since last year, where they really were maybe a little bit overlooked just because they were a little bit younger, but all those players are back, and they have a really good offense. They obviously shoot the 3 very well. So yeah, I think Aberdeen Christian is a really good team, and I think this is going to be, if people think that White River is the clear #1, I think people are going to be surprised by this. It's very close.
I really like Weaker and Russell and Isaacson, all these guys. For Aberdeen Christian, I just think they're a very deep team. We've seen that White River can be beat. They got beat by a ranked Class A team, but they can be beat. Lost to Rapid City Christian earlier this year. That one's going to be dynamite. And then the nightcap is Sioux Valley against Dakota Valley. And to help talk a little bit more about Dakota Valley, we brought in our guest for this week, Jason Kleis, head coach of Dakota Valley. I sat down with him and talked about not only the upcoming boys Hanson Classic this weekend, but just how good his team really is this year.
Let's start with just coming off of a championship season. Did you feel any different coming into this year as far as pressure goes, or is that something that you've really been able to control?
Honestly, it felt different. I don't know. I wouldn't say pressure is the word, because in some ways I think the pressure was off. Just having won last year. If we would have got beat by 1 in the championship game and then gone undefeated all last year, I would have felt probably a lot more pressure. But I think our guys, feel that same way. Having said that, it is different. It's a different feeling all the way around. Our guys are they expect to win, maybe to a fault a little bit, and just getting in and trying to instill in the team that. The reason we were great last year, we had a lot of talent, but geez, we passed the ball like crazy and guarded like crazy, and those things got to happen every night for us to keep building and have a chance at the end. And I think our guys are buying into it, but it's just a different, it's a different feeling. The guys are super confident, and we're trying to balance that with humility and understanding that we got to do all the little things to be great. So it's definitely a different feeling. Last year we were hungry all year. Feisty every day, and we're trying to just find that good balance so far this year.
Let's talk about the season and how it's unfolded so far. You've gotten some really dominant wins, and then you've been tested. And how has that gone according to your expectations?
Yeah, so two games really. We've been right down the wire. Lamar's, we played on their home floor. And it was a similar game to the West Central game at West Central. Both teams played good, and you could tell they wanted it probably more than we did. We're super aggressive with us, very physical with us. And I think that's kind of the book on us, is try to be super physical and tough with us. And we're going to have to adjust to that. Both those games, we found a way to win, and we're kind of trying to find our way with our bench rotations exactly. And I think kind of figuring it out, and guys are getting more comfortable, but it's a different feeling because everybody that plays us is super, super pumped to fight us tooth and nail. Last year we were that team, and so that is a huge difference. And we don't expect to blow everybody out. We don't expect to even really necessarily win every game. We want to be playing our best in March. The winning streak, all that kind of stuff is icing on the cake, but it's not our ultimate goal for sure.
Yeah, well said. Now the Hanson Classic, it was interesting last year. You guys, played a really fun game last year, and it's another big test this year with Sioux Valley. So just talk about what the Hanson Classic means as a midseason thermometer, and then about the matchup with Sioux Valley.
We're pumped about it. That his last several years has been just a great game for us. Great environment, first of all. We've been the night game the last 3 years now. One of the last 2 games, and the environment's fantastic. Just big crowd. Great atmosphere. Feels like a state tournament atmosphere. And then playing Sioux Valley, who we've kind of developed we'll call it a friendly rivalry with, just because the last several years playing them in a lot of big games, and both are undefeated up to this point. And so we're excited. It's going to be, I'm sure, a big crowd. And any game that preps us for the stretch run, we got a lot of them coming up here, is stuff we look forward to. We always tell the guys, this is, practice is fun, scrimmages are fun, all that. But when people in the stands, my high school coach said, that's not that. This is why you don't play intramurals, and this, I don't know that high schools have intramurals anymore. Mine did back in the day. But when there's excitement in the gym and people watching, it just makes everything more fun. And this is going to be one of those. It'll be great.
I mean, this team went undefeated last year, undefeated up to this point this year. He says it's not really pressure, but he says teams are coming at him differently. Like, they want to take Dakota Valley down instead of him being the hunter. That pressure's got to add up, and it's going to be a tough game against Sioux Valley, but this Dakota Valley team is really good.
Yeah, but especially with teams like Sioux Valley in Class A. I mean, Class A is really tough. Nobody wants to see another undefeated Class A champion in the league. So,
except for
Dakota Valley. So it's, this is going to be really interesting because I feel like, like you said, and, everybody's going to be coming and giving their best at Dakota Valley. And who's better to give their best than Sioux Valley in a game like this? Obviously, this is, in the Corn Palace. It's going to be really fun. It's always a good environment in there. And, Oliver Vincent and Alex Squires, 2 of my favorite players in the state. I mean, they're such a dynamic duo. I think Oliver Vincent, if he were not at the point guard spot, could be a 27-point scorer. But he's obviously such a good passer, so good with the ball in his hands that he does so much more for the team.
Right.
He's great. But obviously Dakota Valley, Isaac Bruns, is one of the better players in the state as well. So I mean, in terms of top end talent going against each other, I mean, you can't get a better matchup than this.
Speaking of top end talent, Randy Rosenquist to me is, just an elite point guard. Oliver Vincent, an elite point guard. Maybe the 2 best in the state going at it in this one. And then Isaac Bruns, you talked about. And I think the sleeper here for Sioux Valley is Patrick Carey. He's come up huge this year. Missed his whole junior season and came back this senior year and has been really a perfect third cog in that Sioux Valley wheel. And then the big guys, Jackson Wingert for Dakota Valley and Alex Squires. I think Squires really is proving that he's definitely a Division I talent, the 6'10" big man, just a junior from Sioux Valley. So yeah, really looking forward to just the talent matchup in that one. And you'll be there covering most of the boys' Hanson Classic?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to get there as early as possible. I mean,
he is a newspaper guy.
Yeah, I am a newspaper guy on deadline.
So, you know what? You used to have to stay up. The newspaper guys used to have to stay up late to get it in the print edition, but you have no excuse. You can just wake up bright and early and make it to Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I Yeah, I mean, thanks for
I'll
putting
be
me on
there.
the spot. But
look at me, I am only going to go to the last 3 games because I think there's going to be a lot of great matchups that day, but I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can too, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how those pairings come up because these coaches love scheduling games like this to get ready for state tournament action.
Yeah.
Some other big games coming up across the state. We didn't get a chance to talk much about AA because Hanson Classic, of course, is just for Class A and Class B. But I have to mention Lincoln has a really tough stretch. The boys taking on O'Gorman, then Mitchell, and then Yankton here in the next 7 days. And just to note, the Lincoln-O'Gorman game Friday night, I will be there. Midco Sports will be there, broadcasting it live at 7 o'clock from the O'Gorman gym. And I'm really looking forward to this. This O'Gorman team's under 500 right now, needing a signature win. And then Lincoln, they've been on fire since that early loss to Jefferson. This is a team that's reeled off 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah, and, Lincoln looks really, really good right now. Where, that loss to Jefferson, they maybe didn't have their best that night, and obviously Jefferson's really good, so you got to have your best against Jefferson. But, Lincoln's got a player in the state that nobody has in JT Rock, and when they're playing really well, they could shoot the 3 just about as good as anybody. So they're a really, really good team, and the one that I'm looking most forward to maybe is that Yankton game, because Yankton's shown a little bit in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they had that incredible buzzer beater by Rugby Riken the other day.
What more can that kid do? Man?
I've never seen anything like it. It's to get the steal and then just immediately think to shoot, and then to make it afterwards. It was one of the more incredible plays you'll ever see. So that's a game that I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, rugby and that there's a lot of other players on that Yankton team that can get some shot ups and score. So.
One more I'm looking forward to. Pierre and the Lincoln Kienholz and company coming to the Brandon Valley gym. This Brandon Valley team, basically one loss this year. They had one loss to a Tennessee team, but maybe one of those teams that's not getting enough recognition. They'll have a chance to really make their mark against a good peer team. So that one's Thursday night. And then in girls basketball, we've got Florence Henry, a team that's been undefeated so far this year, going to Hamlin in an unbelievable Region 3 game. This Region 3, by the way, for girls basketball is crazy good, but a huge test for Hamlin, who is the number 1 team right now in the state in Class A. That's it for me. I'm working on getting ready for Friday night's game between O'Gorman and Lincoln. And what are you working on, Michael?
Yeah, I'm just I'm getting ready for the Hanson Classic this weekend. Obviously, it's a good opportunity to see some coaches and see some teams that I don't really get a chance to see very often. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. One more girls basketball note though. Obviously, Washington's been playing really good. Harrisburg just got a win over them yesterday on a game winner. So that's something that's really intriguing. Washington looked practically unbeatable last week. So that was something that I was really intrigued by, and something I'll definitely be looking forward to going forward.
Great point. I just looked at the box score and watched the final shot, but it was a low-scoring game, defensive game. It really shows that Harrisburg maybe has enough athletes to compete with some of the best teams. And I was wondering about them because they were sitting there at number 5. They hadn't had a signature win yet. Huge win for the Tigers moving forward. So yeah, you're right. That's a great one in AA basketball. That's all we've got for this week. We'll be back next week with another coach interview and more Michael McCleary on Talkin' Hoops.